the dope dad himself. That's right. It's Rico Lamitte. When Rico's not doing meetings early in the morning, you can find him probably changing diapers or maybe even singing a wake-up song. That's right. My mom used to sing wake-up songs. It used to sound like, get up, get up, get up, get up. But nonetheless, I wonder how Rico wakes up his daughter. Something similar, I imagine, because kids do are lazy nowadays. But nonetheless, it is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. And my question to you is, in honor of Banana Day, what is the proper way for a man to eat a banana on camera these days?
Oh, geez.
You should give it a try. Let's see what it looks like.
What you got to do with a knife, man?
I don't know. I thought you were gonna go into something like a banana hammock or something, but instead you went for the full.
We can go there, man. I'm pretty secure in my shit. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, bad words. But anyways, so you got something on top of that?
You got it, bro. It's all you.
Okay. All right. So with my story, I actually do want to begin with a potential trigger warning, as it does contain graphic content. All right. So Calvin Lamar Ackles. He was a parolee who made a few mistakes in life, but determined to get things back on track. Unable to get a decent job to pay bills or feed his family or find a place to live that had let him sign a lease with his background, he ended up working as a security guard at an illegal dispensary outside of San Diego that granted him permission to live on site in exchange for 24-hour facility protection. It was a risky job to take for several reasons, but he didn't really have any other choices at the time. He became trusted and respected by the dispensary staff and patrons alike after some time, and began to think he might just have made the right decision. Then the pandemic hit. The date was March 26th, 2020. The dispensary Ackles was working and living at had closed early due to statewide lockdowns put in place that day, and sure to put an unwanted spotlight on their illegal business. 31-year-old Francisco Cruz pulled up to the shop in his custom old-school drop-top coupe to grab some wax for a dab sesh to ease his own nerves from the pandemic. And surveillance video that evening showed Ackles approach and speak to Cruz while the latter was still behind the wheel in the parking lot, telling him they had no wax and that he had to leave the premises. The two argued a bit before Cruz got out the car, headed to his trunk, and began pulling out a steering wheel lock he'd regularly use to secure his convertible. The prosecutor said Cruz, who was right-handed, grabbed the wheel lock with his left hand, and he had barely gotten it out of the trunk and was not raising it or swinging it when Ackles went for his gun. Ackles fired his .357 caliber handgun at close range, hitting Cruz once in the chest and 8 more times in the back, and some shots were even fired while the victim was on the ground. Cruz died at the scene. Ackles, a parolee and felon, barred from having a gun, fled the scene before being found and arrested a few days later in a San Diego motel. A now 43-year-old Ackles was sentenced yesterday to 50 years to life in prison. A Vista Superior Court jury found guilty in January of first-degree murder and in an allegation he'd used a gun in the death of Cruz. They rejected the argument that he was acting in self-defense. Deputy District Attorney Mike Still said that there was a lot of things he could have done besides shooting him 9 times, before adding that Cruz's longtime girlfriend testified that he'd probably grabbed the steering wheel lock to secure his ragtop convertible, as he always did, with a plan to walk to one of the neighboring dispensaries in the area to see if he could buy wax cartridges elsewhere. The story sat on so many levels, and I can't help but feel bad, first for Cruz's family having to deal with that, but also for Ackles. What was he supposed to do in this situation? The lack of coherent strategy from the U.S. government to deal with COVID-19 put the entire country on edge. A lack of top-down informational transparency led to nerves at an all-time high, and conspiracy theories as well, spreading like crazy about what was going on behind the scenes. We won't get into that. But many people who previously lived in abundance were panicking about how they'd be able to put food on their own tables and keep the lights on in the days, weeks, and months ahead. To give an idea of where we were at the time, these were the top 10 U.S. news headlines for that day, March 26, 2020. U.S. coronavirus cases surpassed 75,000 with over 1,000 deaths. Senate unanimously passed the $2 trillion corona relief package that day. New York City reports more than 21,000 confirmed cases, being epicenter of the outbreak. Trump signs Defense Production Act to boost production of medical supplies. Jobless claims surged to 3.28 million, shattering previous record amid coronavirus crisis. California issues a statewide stay-at-home order to curb the spread of coronavirus. Those are the top 7. It was a dark time, and even worse, if y'all remember, there was a slew of coordinated attacks on dispensaries, legal and illegal, with security guards trading fire with would-be burglars, and cops were often just letting it happen. 2 men lost their lives that evening. One's no longer breathing, and another will most likely be behind bars for the rest of his life. Was the jury right with the 50 to life sentence? Would the self-defense plea would have been seen differently if it happened at a legal dispensary? I'm interested in hearing everybody else's thoughts on this tragic event and if there's anything at all positive we can pull out of it. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street. What do y'all think?